Disclaimer: this content is intended for mature audiences only. Viewer discretion is advised. It was one of those nights where the silence between two people spoke louder than any words ever could. Al sat alone at the kitchen table, the hum of the fridge the only sound breaking the stillness of the house that once overflowed with laughter and love. For weeks, maybe even months, things had been tense between him and his wife, Rachel. Little arguments turned into cold silences. Late-night conversations turned into separate bedrooms. He thought it was over. He truly believed their story had reached its end. But little did he know, that night was going to change everything. Al wasn't perfect. He had his flaws, stubborn, sometimes too quiet when it mattered most. But if there was one thing he never stopped feeling, it was love for Rachel. And maybe that's why it hurt so much. He replayed the moments they had, their road trips along the California coast, late-night pizza runs, quiet Sunday mornings where she'd hum her favorite songs while making coffee. He missed her. Not just the partner, but his best friend. But lately, she felt like a stranger sleeping down the hall. He figured she felt the same. But fate has a strange way of showing up when you least expect it. Just when Al had almost convinced himself to let go, his phone buzzed. A message. Short. Simple. From Rachel. "Can we talk tonight?" That was it. But those 5 words hit harder than anything he'd felt in weeks. 100 thoughts ran through his head. Was she ready to end it officially? Was she just checking in? Or was there something else she needed to say? Something she'd been holding back all this time? That evening, as the sky turned a soft orange and the city lights flickered to life, Al found himself standing outside their favorite spot, a small rooftop cafe overlooking downtown LA. It wasn't where couples went to break up. It was where they went to find each other again. As he waited, nerves buzzing through him, he caught his reflection in the window. He barely recognized the man looking back. Tired eyes, a heavy heart, but somewhere deep down, still hopeful. Hopeful that maybe, just maybe, their story wasn't over yet. And then, through the crowd, he saw her. Rachel. Hair tied back, wearing that faded blue jacket he bought her years ago on a whim. She smiled. Not the forced kind they'd been exchanging lately, but soft. Real. Familiar. Al felt his heart catch in his throat. Was this the beginning of something new? Or just a beautiful ending waiting to happen? Either way, what Rachel was about to say next would change everything they thought they knew about love and each other. Before we dive into what happened that night, tell me, have you ever thought something was truly over, only to find out life had one more twist waiting for you? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to stay tuned for the next part, because what Rachel says next will leave you speechless. Al could feel his heart pounding as Rachel walked toward him. Every step she took felt like slow motion, like one of those scenes in a movie where you're not sure if the couple will kiss or walk away forever. He stood up without thinking, suddenly nervous about what to say. Should he smile? Should he apologize first? Or just let her speak? But Rachel beat him to it with a soft, almost hesitant, "Hey." Her voice was calm but carried something deeper, something she hadn't shared in a long time. They sat across from each other, the cool night breeze wrapping around them like a quiet reminder of the distance that had grown between their hearts. Al tried to read her face, searching for clues, but Rachel was always good at hiding her feelings when she wanted to. After a few awkward seconds, she finally spoke, her fingers nervously playing with the edge of her coffee cup. "Al, I've been thinking a lot lately, about us, about where we're headed." Those words hung in the air, heavy and uncertain. Al leaned in, careful not to break whatever fragile piece they had found tonight. She continued, her voice cracking just slightly, "I know we've been distant. I know I've been distant. But it's not because I stopped caring." Al swallowed hard. He had spent so many nights wondering if that was exactly what had happened. Was this confession leading up to something final? Or was it a crack in the wall they had built between them? The night felt colder suddenly. Cars passed below, their headlights cutting through the darkness like distant reminders of a world still spinning outside their little rooftop. Al thought back to when they first met, Two strangers in a bookstore who couldn't stop talking about their favorite novels. Back then, it was simple. Back then, love was easy. But life had a way of complicating simple things. Rachel looked him in the eye then, really looked. But there's something you need to know, something I never told you. And just like that, the moment shifted. A secret? A truth he wasn't prepared for? Ail's mind raced. Was this about someone else? Was it something from her past? Or something that would explain the distance between them? Before she could finish, her phone buzzed sharply against the table. She glanced down, her face paling for just a moment, and then she put it away quickly. Al noticed. And suddenly, the distance between them felt wider than ever. ChatGPT said. Al sat there frozen for a second, his mind spinning faster than he could control. Rachel's glance at her phone, the way her face changed in that moment, it all felt like a puzzle he wasn't sure he wanted to solve. But something deep inside told him he had to. He forced himself to stay calm, to not ask the questions screaming inside his head. Instead, he gave her a soft smile and said, "It's okay. Take your time." Rachel nodded, but her fingers kept tapping the side of her cup, her thoughts clearly somewhere far away. For a few minutes, they just sat there in silence, surrounded by the noise of the city. Couples laughed at nearby tables, the clinking of glasses blending with the hum of late-night traffic. But for Al and Rachel, it felt like they were in their own little world where time had slowed down. Al's mind drifted back to the fights they had recently. All those cold nights when she wouldn't say what was bothering her. He wondered now if maybe it wasn't about him at all. Maybe something else was happening in Rachel's life that she hadn't shared yet. Finally, Rachel spoke again, her voice quieter this time. "Al, do you remember when we promised we'd tell each other everything? No secrets?" He nodded, his chest tightening. "Well, I broke that promise. And I've been carrying it alone for too long." She looked away, wiping the corner of her eye. "But I was scared. I didn't want to lose you. And maybe I already did." Al reached across the table, his fingers brushing hers lightly. "You didn't lose me. Not yet." But the truth was, part of him was afraid too. Afraid of what he might hear next. Rachel took a deep breath, but before she could continue, a voice from behind interrupted them. A tall man in his late 20s, wearing a leather jacket, approached their table. He looked at Rachel, then at Al, his expression unreadable. "Rachel, we need to talk. Now." Al tensed up instantly. Who is this guy? Why did he look so serious? Rachel's face went pale, and for a moment, she looked trapped, like a person caught between two lives. She stood up slowly, glancing at Al with a mix of apology and fear. "I'll explain everything, Al. Just, please wait for me." And just like that, she walked away with the stranger, leaving Al staring at the half-empty coffee cups between them. His mind raced with 1,000 questions. Who was that man? Was he part of the secret Rachel was hiding? Was this the reason she had been distant? Or was it something even deeper than Al could imagine? Al sat frozen, his hands clenched into fists on the table. The night air felt thicker, colder somehow, and every laugh, every distant sound of the city felt like noise he couldn't escape from. He watched Rachel disappear down the narrow rooftop stairs with the stranger, her figure swallowed by the shadows. For a moment, Al questioned everything. Had he been blind this whole time? Was this what all the distance and late nights were really about? His chest tightened with a mix of fear and heartbreak, but deep down, a spark of hope still fought to believe this wasn't what it looked like. Minutes passed, feeling like hours. The rooftop cafe kept going, as if nothing life-changing had just happened. Al debated whether to follow them, but something in Rachel's voice stopped him. She'd asked him to wait. So he waited, staring out at the endless Los Angeles skyline, wondering if love alone could fix something this broken. But then his phone buzzed again. Another message. This time, from an unknown number. "If you care about Rachel, leave this alone." The words chilled him. What was going on? Was Rachel in danger? Or was someone trying to protect a secret bigger than their marriage problems? Al stood up abruptly, knocking over his chair. His instincts told him Rachel was tangled in something deeper than a simple argument or a fading relationship. Maybe this wasn't just about them anymore. Maybe Rachel had been trying to protect him all along, shielding him from something darker. He rushed down the stairs, heart racing, following the faint echoes of voices from the alley behind the cafe. He stayed hidden in the shadows, watching as Rachel and the stranger argued in hushed tones. She looked upset, her arms crossed, while the man pointed sharply toward the street, as if giving her an ultimatum. Al couldn't hear every word, but one phrase hit him like a punch. "You promised you'd never tell him." Who is this guy? An old friend? Someone from Rachel's past? Or worse, was he connected to something Rachel had been hiding before she even met Al? Al felt torn between stepping in or trusting Rachel to handle it. His mind spun with questions, and none of the answers gave him peace. The night air, the city lights, the weight of what he didn't know, it all pressed in on him, and the only thing he was sure of now was that this night would decide everything. Al could feel his pulse in his ears as he watched Rachel shake her head fiercely, stepping back from the man like she was done listening. But just as he thought she might walk away, the stranger suddenly pulled something from his jacket, a small envelope. Rachel froze, her face pale, her body stiff as if she'd seen a ghost. Al squinted, trying to figure out what was inside. Money? A letter? Something worse? The man held it out to her without saying a word, and for a long moment, she just stared at it, her hands trembling. Then, against everything Al wanted to believe, Rachel took it. She slipped it into her coat pocket and whispered something that Al couldn't quite catch. The man gave her a satisfied smirk and turned away, disappearing down the alley like he'd never been there. Rachel stood alone under the streetlight, her shoulders sagging with the weight of whatever had just happened. Al couldn't stay in the shadows anymore. He stepped out slowly, his voice soft but shaking. "Rachel, what's going on?" She spun around, startled, her eyes wide and glassy. For a second, she didn't say anything, just looked at him like she was debating whether to run or finally tell him the truth. "Al," she whispered, taking a step closer, "I didn't want you to see this. I didn't want you involved." "Involved in what?" he asked, his voice cracking. "Who is that guy? And what did he give you?" Rachel hesitated, biting her lip, her mind racing. "It's not what you think, but it's also not good. That man, he's from my past. Before you. And I thought I was done with that life, but clearly I wasn't." Al stared at her, the words, that life, echoing in his head. What did she mean? Had Rachel been hiding a whole part of herself he never knew? A past filled with secrets and people who could still reach her, even now? Before she could explain more, another phone buzz broke the night. This time, it was Al's phone. A text from an unknown number again. "Walk away, Al. You don't know what you're getting into." Rachel saw the message over his shoulder and her face drained of color. "They know about you now. You have to leave, Al. Please." But how could he leave her like this? How could he walk away when the woman he loved was tangled in something dangerous and clearly scared? Al took her hands, firm but gentle. "I'm not leaving you. Not now. We figure this out together." Rachel shook her head, tears threatening to fall. "If we do this together, they'll come after both of us." And in that single moment, Al knew the danger wasn't some distant threat. It was here. Tonight. And whatever choice they made next would change everything forever. The night had never felt so still, yet every second carried a quiet threat. Al tightened his grip on Rachel's hands, his voice steady despite the fear. "Tell me everything. Right now." Rachel took a shaky breath, finally letting the truth spill out. She told him about her past, the one she'd buried before they met, working briefly for a man who ran shady business deals across Los Angeles. Back then, she was lost, alone, and made choices she regretted. She got out before things turned dangerous, or so she thought. But the man from earlier tonight, Marcus, had resurfaced, pulling her back with secrets she never wanted revealed. "What does he want from you now?" Al asked, his heart pounding. Rachel bit her lip. He wants me to help him move stolen money through a fake charity. If I don't, he'll expose everything, ruin my career, my life, and now he's threatening you too. Al took a deep breath. Then we go to the police. Tonight. We tell them everything. You don't have to fight this alone anymore. But Rachel shook her head. It's not that simple. Marcus has people inside. No one's safe. Suddenly, footsteps echoed in the alley. Marcus appeared again, this time with 2 men behind him. Touching scene, he sneered. But you're out of time, Rachel. Make your choice. Al stepped in front of Rachel, his jaw clenched. She's not doing anything for you. But before Marcus could reply, police sirens wailed in the distance. Flashing lights filled the alley as officers surrounded them. Rachel gasped, shocked. Al turned and whispered, I made a call before I followed you down here. The cops arrested Marcus and his men, reading them their rights. Rachel stared at Al, stunned and relieved, tears spilling down her cheeks. You saved me. Al pulled her into his arms, holding her like he never wanted to let go. I wasn't going to lose you, Rachel. Not to him. Not to anyone. But just as they caught their breath, Rachel's phone buzzed again. A single message flashed on the screen. You think Marcus was the only one? Rachel and Al froze, their happiness slipping away for a moment. The danger wasn't over yet. Somewhere out there, someone else was still watching, waiting. Rachel and Al walked slowly down the quiet streets of Los Angeles, the distant sirens fading behind them. The weight of the night hung between them, but for the first time in weeks, their hands were intertwined, steady and sure. They didn't speak much at first. Sometimes silence says more than words ever could. They had faced something terrifying together, and even though the danger wasn't completely gone, they finally knew they didn't have to face it alone. After what felt like a lifetime, Rachel broke the silence. I'm sorry I kept all that from you. I thought I was protecting you, but I ended up shutting you out. Al squeezed her hand gently. We've both made mistakes. But love isn't about hiding the messy parts. It's about choosing each other through them. His words made her smile for the first time that night. A real smile, small but full of hope. Over the next few days, the police worked on building a case against Marcus and his partners. Rachel gave her full statement, exposing the whole operation. She risked her career, her reputation, and yet she felt lighter. For the first time in years, the shadows of her past didn't control her future. Al stood by her side through it all. He had his own fears, his own doubts, but his love for Rachel was stronger than any threat they faced. Together, they decided to leave the past behind and start fresh. A new beginning. They spent a weekend driving up the California coast, revisiting the places that once made them fall in love. No more secrets, no more running. Just them, rediscovering what mattered most. But even in their happiness, the message Rachel received that night lingered in the back of their minds. Was there still someone out there watching? Or had they finally broken free? As the sun set over the ocean, Rachel leaned against Al and whispered, whatever comes next, we face it together. And in that quiet, beautiful moment, they both knew that love, real, messy, complicated love, was worth every risk. What do you think? Is this truly the end of their story, or is there another twist waiting to unfold? Comment below and let me know if you'd love to see a sequel to Al and Rachel's journey. And don't forget to like this video if the story moved you, and subscribe for more heart-touching love stories just like this one.